Hey gang, and welcome back. These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. And Foil Armor, flatten your foils fast. Arch wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws and plays a Temple of Triumph, which comes in tapped, and scries 1. Sammy just plays an island. Max has got a swamp and ships it. Metya draws, plays a polluted delta, and cracks it, losing 1. Arja plays Battlefield Forge and pays 2 for a Talisman of Hierarchy. Sammy's got a Sungrass Prairie and casts a Rampant Growth to go and find a basic. Max plays a Mountain and pays 2 for a tapped Charcoal Diamond. Metya's got his own Mana Rock after playing an Urborg and pays 2 for an Izzet Signet. Arja plays a tapped Shambling Vents and pays 1 of each color for Firelord Zuko. Sammy draws and plays an Inkmoth Nexus. He then pays 2 for a Farseek, going to find a land as he passes. Max has got a Castle Embrith, and he casts his own Firelord with Firelord Ozai. He ships it after that. Metya draws and plays a casual Cabal Coffers. Arja's got a Windswept Heath and doesn't need to crack it since Urborg's out and is able to cast a Prosper. He then swings Zuko at Metya for 2, and after he connects, passes, exiling his top card to Prosper's trigger during the end step. Sammy plays a Blinkmoth Nexus for his turn and casts Black Panther. He puts the Black Panther counters onto his Inkmoth Nexus, and then casts Haru Hidden Talent. Sammy then activates the Inkmoth Nexus, and going to combat, hits Arja for 2 Infect. Max draws, plays a Swamp, and casts Deadpool. He swaps the text with Haru, and then sends Ozai at Arja. With Ozai attacking, Max sacrifices Deadpool, making 5 mana, and Arja then takes the hit. Before combat ends, Max then activates Ozai to exile each of his opponent's top card. He's able to cast a Mocking Doppelganger, and has it come in as a copy of Prosper. Max then moves to his end step, exiling his top card to Prosper, and passes. Also during the end step, Metya flashes in a High Fate Trickster. Matt draws, plays a Cascade Bluff, and passes. During the end step, Arja cracks his Windswept Heath, going to fight Legalia Shrine. Arja plays his land for turn, and he casts Kate Sith from exile. This has Zuko putting a +1/+1 counter onto each creature, and Arja then follows up with a long-range sensor. He then goes and exiles Ephemerate to Kate Sith, and sends Prosper at Sammy and Zuko at Matt. Before blocks, Matt flashes in Leyline Tyrant and blocks Zuko, while Sammy takes 2 from Prosper. After that, Arja exiles Dragonhawk to Prosper during the end step, and passes. Sammy loses 3 life to Haru's Deadpool text, and draws for turn, and plays a Seachrome Coast. He then casts Aang, and gets a Restoration Angel off the trigger. As the angel comes in, he blinks Aang. Aang then re-enters, and this time hits a Phyrexian Metamorph. He has it copy the Restoration Angel, blinking Aang again. Aang this time hits a Gigantoplasm, which copies the Restoration Angel again, and blinks Aang once more. Aang then hits an Undercover Operative this time, making another Restoration Angel, and blinks Aang again. Aang then gets a Mirror Image, blinking again, and then hits a Waxen Shape Thief, having that become a Restoration Angel as well, and flickering Aang again. The chain finally ends with Aang hitting Emil, and all of the Black Panther triggers are going on the Inkmoth Nexus. Sammy then passes turn. Max draws, and plays a Swamp, and casts Rakdos Signet. He then casts Rakdos Joins Up, and brings back Deadpool from his graveyard. He swaps the text boxes with Emil, and sends Ozai at Arja. He once more sacrifices Deadpool to the trigger. This has Rakdos Joins Up, dealing 7 to Sammy, and activates Ozai's ability, and Arja then takes the combat damage. After combat, Max then casts Philia off of Ozai. This has him making a treasure from Prosper, and moving to his end step, he exiles his top card to Prosper's trigger. Metya's turn has him playing Command Tower, and then casts Firelord Azula to finally see who's the best Firelord. He then casts Swiftfoot Boots and equips them onto Azula, and going to combat, swings her at Arja. Mechia gets 2 red mana from Firebending 2, which he then uses to help cast Valakut Awakening. Because he casts it during combat, he gets a copy of it with Azula, and he bottoms his 2 cards to draw 3, and then bottoms his 3 to draw 4. And still before damage happens, Mechia flashes in a Soul Ring, copying it with Azula, and then flashes in Arcane Signet and copies it as well. Arja then takes the hit for 4, and Mechia passes. Arja draws and plays a Badlands, and then activates his long-range sensor. He discovers Hidden Pia Nalar Consul Revival, casting her, which in turn buffs his team and gets him a treasure from Prosper. He then casts Dragonhawk from exile. This is Arja making a Thopter, pumping his team with a counter again, and making another treasure, and as Dragonhawk enters, he gets to exile his top 4. Arja then continues by casting Collector's Cage from exile, pumping the team again, making another treasure, and making another Thopter, and he then goes to combat. He gets his Kate Sith trigger, exiling a land, and swings Prosper at Mechia, and a Thopter at Max and Sammy each. Max and Mechia take the damage, while Sammy blocks with a Restoration Angel. After combat, Arja activates Long Range Sensor, and this time hits a Path to Exile, which he uses to cast on his own Thopter. He once more gets to pump his board, make a Thopter, and get a treasure. Arja then exiles his top card to Prosper, and moving to his end step, bins 3 cards from Dragonhawk and deals 6 to each of his opponents. Sammy once more takes 3 from Deadpool's text, and then animates his Inkmoth Nexus, going to combat. He sends the Nexus at Max, and all of his Restoration Angels at Arja. This is Arja activating his Collector's Cage in response, targeting Zuko. He then casts Mythos of Snapdax from Hideaway, and everyone chooses one of each non-land permanent type to keep. The board gets cleaned up, and Mechia deals 2 to Arja with the Leyline Tyrant trigger as it hits the graveyard. Sammy also takes out Max with Infect. During the cleanup step of combat, Arja then casts Swords to Plowshares and targets the Inkmoth Nexus. Sammy gains some life, and then continues to a second main phase, casting a Spark Double as a copy of Aang. The Spark Double copy hits a Clever Impersonator copy, and it comes in as a copy of the Spark Double of Aang. He then hits Hakoda, which ends the chain. After that, Sammy passes. Sammy's Aang transforms on Mechia's upkeep, and Mechia then draws. He plays Shizo Death's Storehouse, and passes. Arja draws, plays a Soul Ring, and then casts Zuko Exiled Prince. He then casts an Obsidian Fireheart off of Prosper, and he goes to combat. He sends Zuko at Sammy, and before moving to blocks, Mechia activates Shizo to give it fear. Arja then uses his Firebending mana to activate the Obsidian Fireheart, targeting 2 of Sammy's lands. He then passes. On Sammy's upkeep, his lands burn him, and he draws for turn, and then casts a Phantasmal Image as a copy of the Spark Double, which is a copy of Aang. This in turn hits a copy of Sakashima the Imposter, and we start the chain over again. Sakashima hits Sakashima's student, who in turn hits Sakashima of Thousand Faces. With that Sakashima, he hits Naga Fleshcrafter, which then hits an Altered Ego, and then hits an Icewind Stalwart. The Stalwart in turn blinks Sakashima of the Thousand Faces, starting the chain again, and this time hits Vizier of Many Faces. We're pretty much out of clones at this point, as Sammy hits a Sakura Tribe Elder. Going to combat, Sammy then Earthbends 2 with Aang on his Blinkmoth Nexus. He then sends the original Aang, the Clever Impersonator, and the Blinkmoth Nexus at Arja, and the Spark Double copy goes at Mechia. They each take their hit, and Sammy passes. Mechia's turn has him playing a mountain, and casting his own Firelord Ozai. He then moves the Swiftfoot Boots onto Ozai, and swings Azula at Arja and Ozai at Sammy. Sammy in turn blocks with an Icewind Stalwart and one of his Aang clones, and Mechia activates Ozai before damage. Arja then takes the hit, and Mathieu decides to deal enough damage to the stalwart, and then casts Soul Ring from exile. After that, Mathieu passes. Arja's main phase has him casting Keeper of Secrets. He then activates Long Range Sensor, hitting Hagra Mauling, and casts it targeting Hokata. The Keeper in turn deals 4 to Sammy, and with the removal in the stack, Sammy sacrifices Hakoda and pumps his board and gives them indestructible. Arja then moves to combat, swinging the Obsidian Fireheart at Sammy and both Zukos at Mathieu. Arja gets 13 red mana from Firebending and uses 3 of it to activate Zuko, Exiled Prince. This has him hitting Grenzo. And Arja then tries again and hits Command Tower. He then continues and hits a Delayed Fast Fireball, which he then casts from exile. Sammy's creatures are unfortunately indestructible at this point, but he does take 5, plus 3 from the Keeper, and Mathieu's creatures and face take 5 as well. Sammy then puts all of his creatures in front of the Fire Maw to take it out, and Mathieu gets taken out from combat damage. After combat, Arja then plays Command Tower, and he then activates a Long Range Sensor, hitting a Mardu Siegebreaker. He casts it, and the Keeper deals 4 more to Sammy, but unfortunately without the right colors to cast Grenzo, he has no choice but to pass. Sammy takes 2 on his upkeep from the Blaze counters, but survives at 1. He draws for turn, and needs only swing out at Arja for the win. Game review time. So hands down the best card this game was Aang. Obviously the fact that he's basically collected company but at sorcery speed with flying is pretty sweet, and as you saw he was able to chain into so many clones. Max built the deck very specifically, and I think it showcased it super well. I think Firelord Zuko is a lot of fun, and it was another deck that was built very nicely with a lot of cards exiling stuff and pumping up his board. Arja was getting a ton of mana from the Firebending, and it's nice to see all the different outlets he was able to dump the mana into. Firelord Azula unfortunately did not work super well for Mathieu. I'd built it recently, and I've since tweaked it a lot more, so I'm hoping to showcase it a little bit better in the future. Lastly, Firelord Ozai is awesome. I wasn't super into Deadpool. I found he was kind of a card that complicates things unnecessarily, and it's just not really great design in my opinion. But again, we got to see a really cool ability going off, which was his activation after sacrificing a creature and stealing some spells. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.